Today's video is sponsored by Kunai Threads. Whether it's a Blackbeard playmat, a Shanks shirt, or even a Doflamingo pickleball set, they've got you covered. Use code JohnnyTCG and hit the link in my bio to get 5% off your entire order. Thank you, Kunai Threads, for sponsoring this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Johnny TCG video. I'm Johnny TCG. I'm happy to see you here today. Today we're talking about one of my favorite leaders in the game. I feel like I say that like almost every video, but there's just a ton of leaders I love, and I love the diversity of the game, and yeah. So if saying every leader is my favorite's a crime, then lock me up. Today we're taking a look at OP07 Bonney and the OP09 meta. It has taken me way too long to do a Bonney video in OP09. This is a deck I've been playing ever since it came out, doing revisions when the new starter decks came out or the new OP08 set, and it's overdue to do an OP09 video. Today, of course, we've got a deck profile, we've got a giveaway for a custom Bonney leader, you're going to want to check that out, and then of course we've got games on the sim, you're going to want to see those, and we'll talk about how the deck works at the end. For those that don't know, Bonney is a mono green leader, 5 life, 5000 power, the usual, with an ability of when your opponent attacks once per turn, you may rest the Don and then rest one of your opponent's leaders or characters. This is a very defensive focused ability, allowing you to negate some of your opponent's attackers every single turn, as long as you have a Don up. This is going to allow you to really extend the game, letting you get into the late game to play your big boss monsters. Hypothetically, if everything goes according to plan, your opponent won't be able to pressure you as much as they normally would be able to because you're resting one of their leaders or characters every single turn. Of course, you'll need to make sure you have some Don available for it, and that's one of the big things with this leader is that sometimes you can't make the most optimal on-curve play because you need to leave one Don open for the leader ability. First up, we have 3 Cavendish, one of my favorite cards in the deck. His ability is that on play and when attacking, you get to restand 2 of your rested Don. If you can establish this on the board and keep it alive, it's going to go absolutely crazy. It completely changes the way you're able to play. For example, if you have this on the board and you have 8 Don to work with, normally, if you did not have him on the board, you wouldn't be able to do the 8-cost kid combo where you rest him, play out another blocker, and then give him 1 Don. You wouldn't be able to do that normally, but if you do have Cavendish, you are able to do that on the 8 Don turn, which getting that out a turn earlier is so good. He unfortunately can get hit by a lot of things in the current meta. I'm looking at you, Jozu. I'm looking at you, Egghead Nami. Those are unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. Because he is searchable, I think 3 is a good number. You don't need to run him at 4, but I don't know, maybe I'm crazy for that. Next, we're running 4 Scratchman and Poos, just a simple 1 cost, 1000 power, 2k counter for the most part. It's searchable, which is nice, and then also it does have the on play where you can rest one of your opponent's cost 2 or less characters, so hypothetically you could go for game if your opponent only has a chump blocker out, so it does have some utility, but I'm mostly using it as a counter. Next, we're running 2 Killers from OP01. I am sold on this card. At first, I was a doubter, and I was not running it in my previous deck lists and previous sets, but now I see the vision. 2 cost, 2000 power, 1000 counter is nothing special, but he is the perfect card to go along with our 8 cost Eustace Captain Kidd. Rosinante is usually the better card to go with him, but Killer also has a spot. His ability is that Don ×1 on the block. If you have 3 or more characters, you get to draw a card. That can be a very convenient way to get free card draw. Who doesn't love free card draw? 3 of the man, the myth, the legend, Eustace Captain Kidd, 8 cost, 8000 power from OP01. For those that don't know, he has the ability of Don ×1 during your opponent's turn. Your opponent can only attack Eustace Captain Kidd, so he is an absolute wall. Some decks really struggle to get around him. And then also he has the ability of activate main. You may rest him and then play out a cost 3 or less character from your hand. This is really good to cheat out a blocker to go along with him. If you can cheat out that 2 cost Rosinante, I'll skip ahead to that. 2 cost Rosinante goes perfectly with it because not only is he a blocker that can be cheated out by Eustace Captain Kidd, he also has the ability of on your opponent's turn, if one of your rested characters would be KO'd, you may instead trash Don Quixote Rosinante, meaning that even if the Rosinante can't block for whatever reason, if it's an unblockable attack or if it's rested, it can still use this ability where if your Eustace Captain Kidd is killed, it will be able to sacrifice himself instead. We love that. I love running 4 Rosinantes just because it's so good to combo with Eustace Captain Kidd. 10 cost Doflamingo, we're running 3 of these, 10 cost, 10,000 power with the ability of on play, freeze, 3 of your opponent's leaders or characters. This is super strong, and in the right circumstances, if you're able to chain multiple together, it could just win you the game. Unfortunately, it doesn't feel like amazing nowadays. You really want to have a Cavendish on the field when you play it so that you can still use your leader ability. And then of course with the Blackbeard leader running around, this can just get shut off by that leader ability. 4 of the OP04 baby 5s, this is mainly just used as a 2K. It does have the ability of at the end of the turn, you may trash baby 5, set up to 2 of your Don as active. That's solid, but we're mainly using this as a 2K that is searchable by our baby 5 searcher. Rosinante, already talked about him, absolute legend in this deck. Baby 5, this is a 1 cost 1000 power searcher. Activate main, you may rest the Don, rest the character. Look at the top 5 for a Don Quixote Pirates card. Simple as that. This deck loves getting out searchers early that your opponent has to swing into. We're running this baby 5, and then we are also running the Jewelry Bonney from starter deck 2. This is the same exact thing, rest the character, rest the Don, but you're looking for a Supernova's character instead. 3 Hody Jones. I absolutely love Hody Jones. Hody Jones is one of the best finishers in the game. Being able to rest 2 of your opponent's blockers or Don cards goes absolutely crazy when you're going for lethal, especially Purple Luffy when they've got Don up for Gum Gum Giant. You know we're going to rest that Don if we can. 3 seems like the right number to me, but if you ran 4, that's solid too. I mean, at the end of the game, when you really want to see him, it feels really bad not to. So yeah, Hody Jones, more like Goaty Jones, am I right? That was cringe. Don't unsubscribe, please. We're running the one of Roronoa Zoro 9 cost 9000 power secret rare from OP06. This is really good, but not like a necessity for this deck. I really am just a fan of the card and do think that he has value in certain matchups. He has the ability of when attacking, rest the Don, then restand him as active. Then he has the ability of activate main, rest 2 Don, restand him as active again. So yes, you read that right, ladies and gentlemen. He can swing 3 times in a turn, hypothetically. Super strong, depending on the situation. Another great finisher. Your opponent's going to want to deal with him ASAP. Not amazing in every matchup, but in the matchups which he does stay on the field, he can become a menace. 2 5 cost 6000 power Jewelry Bonnies from OP07. 1 cost counter is a nice touch. On play, you get to freeze one of your opponent's characters or one of their Don. This is really helpful when you're in a matchup that you know specifically what kind of play they're trying to make on what specific Don turn. So for example, playing a Katakuri, they're at 10 Don. Of course, you're going to try to slam this down and freeze one of their Don cards so they can't play 10 Mom. It's not always amazing in every matchup, and we do have some other great 5 cost characters in this deck, and so that's why I only run her at 2. 2 6 cost 7000 power Basil Hawkins as well. I think this card is a card that might be debated a little bit if it still belongs in the deck. I think he's still good, not amazing. I can't say that like Basil Hawkins is my favorite card in the deck, but he does have some value in some matchups. Then of course he's just an awkward 6 cost 7000 power blocker that rarely can be bounced. Do I think he's goated? No, but do I think he's solid? Yes. 4 Carrots, 5 cost 6000 power from OP08. Carrot is an absolute menace, 1000 counter, on play and when attacking. We love to see that combination. Cavendish has it too. On play and when attacking, one of your opponent's cost 7 or less characters does not become active in the next refresh phase. That is so awesome. It relieves pressure from you and makes it so they're not getting value out of some of their characters. We're running one of the Capone Beige from starter deck 2 as well. Just a 1 cost 1000 power blocker. Absolutely nothing special about him. He doesn't even have counter, which is a little bit of a bummer because we do run a decent amount of dead cards without counter in the deck, and do we really want to add another one? But a 1 cost blocker does come in handy sometimes. You would be really surprised. Just 1 cost, getting a blocker out there. A lot of decks can deal with a 1 cost blocker, but in a certain situation, you will be happy to have it. I do think 1 is the move here. 4 Jewelry Bonnie searchers looking for supernovas. What do you want me to say about that? Looking at a spicy card, we have 1 7 cost Kid from starter deck 2 as well. I'm not the inventor of this spice. I think someone in the Mexico regional did have it in their deck and they were running maybe 1 or 2. It's really interesting and a really fun card to use. Its blocker, 7 cost 7000 power, which is solid in itself, but why we really like it is it has the effect of 1 Don, set this card as active at the end of your turn, so on offense you are able to pressure their board or their life with it, and you still get to restand it at the end of the turn. Again, situational, 7 cost can sometimes be awkward, but I really like it. I think 1 of is cool, but if you ran 2, I don't think you're crazy either. Honestly, 2 is something I'm considering as well. It's just that this deck already has a lot of counterless cards, and do I really want to add 1 more? Next up, we have 3 of the 9 cost Shanks from Starter Deck 16. 9 cost, 11,000 power. He is an absolute beast. He has the on-play ability of KOing one of your opponent's characters that's just rested. No power limit, no cost limit, just are they rested? Yeah, get him out of here. We love that. It's so strong. Another on-play effect that Blackbeard can kind of take away, which stinks, you know? But in every other matchup, he can be really good, and yeah, I think 3 is a great number for him. 2 0 cost 3,000 power events. A typical 0 cost 3,000 power event. It's solid, you know, we've got a lot of dead cards in the deck and great way to get some value out of them. Thinking about how Bonney matches up in the current meta, of course, I do think she's really good into Black Yellow Luffy. I think she's fine into Doflamingo. I mean, a great Doflamingo player that's seeing Jinbeis early, it is probably going to just be too much for you to deal with, but she's not an auto lose in most matchups. Of course, Blackbeard so far has been my hardest matchup with her. If you play a good Blackbeard player, they're just going to be able to shut you down late game and you're not going to be able to get a lot of value. 8 cost Eustace Captain Kid can be cool, but I don't really think it's enough. If they're able to keep a decent hand size and at the end of the game have enough cards to trash to keep using leader ability, you're going to be in for a long game. I did have a match against a Blackbeard player that I did think about putting in this video, but I think at the end of the game they were being a little bit too conservative with not using their leader ability, and I really think I should have lost that game, and so I was like, I won't include that one because I don't think it's really indicative of the average Blackbeard matchup. But let me tell you, that matchup's hard, unless it's just me. If I'm the only one that's bad at the Blackbeard matchup, let me know in the comments down below. If you have any tips for that matchup, I'd love to hear them. Of course, before we get into the gameplay, we do have a giveaway for you. Today we're going to be giving away a custom Bonney Leader using art from the One Piece Treasure Cruise game. Editor, throw it up on screen. Boom, there we are. Look at that beautiful artwork. It's very simple to enter this giveaway. All you have to do is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. It's as simple as that. If this video gets 15 likes in the first 24 hours, I will do a random number generator, pick a random US-based comment, and send it to you for completely free. That's all you got to do is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. Simple as that. And if you want to help the channel out, consider hitting that subscribe button as well. If you want to stay up to date with every single Johnny TCG upload, if you want to help the channel grow and make my heart warm. It's free, it's easy, it's what the cool kids are doing. I think they've had enough of me yapping though. Editor, roll the gameplay. Ladies and gentlemen, I have terrible news. After dozens of games on the sim, I am talking dozens, I realized the deck list I was playing with was slightly different than the one I promoted in the deck breakdown part of the video. Now, I don't think it's a huge difference, and I do really like the games that I did play with this leader and this deck, and so I'm still going to show these games off. I did a ton of them, and I really wanted to show them off. The changes that I made or forgot to make were subtracting 1 7 cost Eustace Captain Kid and then also a Shanks for 2 of the 0 cost 3,000 power counter events. So I have way less counter potential in this deck, which is unfortunate, but I still think we did pretty well. So I'm going to show off these games. I talked about in the deck profile. You're still going to get the same idea of how this deck works, basically. I just have less counter to use and a couple more big bodies. We do a jewelry Bonney search. You know we love a jewelry Bonney search, and we get the Cavendish. They're going to clear the Bonney with their leader, and then they're going to go Porsche into Tony Chopper Blocker, letting them ramp a Don back. 5 Don for us to work with. Of course, it's going to be a Cavendish play. We're going to swing 6,000 at them, and yeah, they're probably going to take this. I wouldn't be surprised if they counter it out either, though. I don't imagine they will use their Tony Chopper Blocker. They will counter out of that, and we'll pass it back to them with 1 Don left up. They have 6 Don to work with. They're going to start off by giving 1 Don to Porsche, swinging at us for 6,000. We will use our leader ability to rest their leader, and then 6,000, we'll just take that hit. We want to save our 2Ks a little bit, and they will play down the 5 cost Eustace Captain Kid Blocker. That's a great card for them to play right now, I'd probably say. That's going to help them ramp Don even more when they use leader ability and other effects. I'm thinking here we do a 7 cost Eustace Captain Kid play. We try out the Spice. We'll then swing 6,000 with Cavendish to restand 2 Don. And then we can swing 6,000 again with Jewelry Bonney into their Porsche if they keep it alive. They'll block with the Tony Chopper, which makes sense. And then I'm going to swing 6,000 into the Porsche. I wouldn't be surprised if they block and counter out of here with Eustace Captain Kid, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Block 1K, and then I pass it back to them. That's fine, though. Now they're going to be at 8 Don. We could probably see that 7 drop Foxy here. That would be very annoying to deal with. It gives all of my characters minus 1,000 during my turn, which makes being on the offense really difficult. I was kind of expecting them to use their leader ability on this turn and freeze my Cavendish because the Cavendish just gets so much value, but instead they'll give 1 Don to their Eustace Captain Kid and swing 7,000 at us. I think blocking and then countering one might not have been a bad idea, but we just take that. We're fine to take some more cards in our hand, and then they do have the 7 cost Foxy. Very well timed. That is going to be annoying to deal with, but we're still in a good position. With 9 Don to work with, I think I'm going to establish the 8 cost Kid and then use Cavendish's ability to get Don back. Setting up that play will be very nice. I can give a Don to my 7 cost Kid and then turn that into an attacker as well. We really like that play. And then with our 8 cost Kid, oh my god, how many kids am I going to say? I can cheat out the killer blocker. I'm debating on whether or not to put Don on my 7 cost Kid and maybe save that Don for my killer to use killer's ability of drawing 1 card on block if it has a Don attached. I decided to go with the 7 cost Kid swinging into their 5 cost Kid, just wanting to apply more pressure on their board, and now I can swing 5,000 with Bonney into their lead. I will still play out the killer, but if I don't use his effect, oh well. I don't know if I actually will even block with him at all this turn, just because I do have a ton of counter in hand. Look at that, 3 2Ks and 2 1Ks. You love to see it. I've got 2 blockers out now. I've got the 8 cost Kid and I've got the Cavendish. That is a beautiful board. Unfortunately though, Foxy's leader ability is so strong, it could really just freeze a Cavendish and my leader. I do not mind at all if they freeze my 8 cost Kid. That is not really a big deal. We do have the 9 cost Zoro that we can maybe play out next turn and really put them in danger, or we could even be crazy and play another 8 cost Kid. Having 2 8 cost Kids on the field along with a 7 cost Kid is pretty crazy, but hey, I'm just a crazy guy. They're going to pull a move off that I did not expect, a 9 cost Charlotte Linlin. That allows them to put the Cavendish I assume they're going to put back, or maybe even the killer, into my life. Yeah, the Cavendish, RIP Cavendish, you were fun while you lasted. And then instead of swinging into me, they will just pass. This might seem weird at first, but it actually makes sense. That means that I can't use my leader ability and rest one of their characters. They weren't going to be able to get past the 8 cost Kid anyway, so I won't have enough Don to put on my Kid and use leader ability right now, and the leader ability is more important to me in this very situation, so I'm actually not going to rest my Eustace Captain Kid 8 cost or anything. I'm going to leave that Don up so I can rest one of their characters with leader ability, and then also they won't really be able to get a lot of value from their leader ability at the same time. So overall, I think that's a really solid play on my part. I don't mean to pat myself on the back too much, but definitely a decent idea, at least I'm going with there. Let me know what you think in the comments down below if you agree with my strategy in this situation. I think another Cavendish would really hit the spot for us. They are going to play out for 9 Don, another Charlotte Linlin. They're going to be able to put my killer at the top or bottom of my life. If they decide to, they might decide to leave the killer on the field, but they put the killer at the bottom. They get to heal a life again. They are at 4 life, which is really good for them. And then they're going to swing 6,000 at us with their leader. We are going to use our leader ability to rest their Big Mom, and then we are just going to take this hit. We do not mind taking more cards. And then also, yeah, we just got a free life with killer, so might as well take that hit, see what we can get. We get the 1 cost Jewelry Bonney Searcher. I also wouldn't mind finding a 10 cost Doflamingo. They are debating whether or not to swing with their 7 cost Foxy here as well. I actually forgot they even had Porsche. They're going to swing 5,000 at us, and we'll just free block with the 7 cost Kid blocker. They debate swinging with the 7 cost Foxy of their own, but I think they might not. They might be worried about the 10 cost Doflamingo, which we don't have, but it would be a lot cooler if we did. If you get that reference, you are an absolute legend. I think we really want to find the Cavendish here, and so we play down the Bonney. We don't find the Cavendish, unfortunately. At least we find that 2K Scratch Mana Poo. We're now going to swing 5,000 with our leader at the Porsche. They will 1K counter out of that. Now we'll hit them with 6,000 or 7,000 with our 7 cost Eustace Captain Kid. Because we gave him a Don, he will be able to restand himself at the end of the turn. I'm debating maybe playing down the Jewelry Bonney to freeze one of their Don or their Linlin, but I decide I can definitely just clear this. I'm going to swing 9,000 with our Eustace Captain Kid, 8 cost of course, They'll give us the 2k counter to keep the Lin Lin alive, but that is perfectly fine. Now we can just swing a bunch of times with our Zoro. The first time is the charm and they just let it go then. I am going to swing again with our Zoro, this time into their life. 9,000 at them, they have to take this. And then I'm not going to restand my Zoro. I am going to let him stay rested and then play out the 2-cost Rosinante blocker as well. That'll really help secure my defense. That 8-cost useless captain kit is not going anywhere. Using 9-cost Zoro's ability, I can restand him even if he gets frozen by their Foxy Leader ability, so that's almost like a trap. Not really a trap, I guess, but I don't mind too much if they freeze the Zoro. For 2 Don, I can restand him right back. They are going to swing 5,000 to get that leader ability, and I will freeze, or not freeze, I will rest their Charlotte Linlin. They decide not to swing with their other Foxy because they wouldn't have been able to hit my useless Captain Kid. We are in a great spot right now. I have a ton of options in my hand. We'll start by giving our 8-cost Kid a Don, just because we know we're going to go with that route. Then we are going to search with the Jewelry Bonney. We're looking for that Cavendish again, but we do not find one. We find a 2k, which is also really good in this situation. We're then going to restand our Zoro, and I think here is just going to be a very offensive turn. We're going to have to put a couple Don on our 7-cost useless Captain Kid if we want to swing big with it, but we'll just swing into their leader for 6,000, giving that a Don. Lets us restand it at the end of the turn. Will they give us a 2k? Will they block? They will give us the 2k. That is great for us. I'll give a Don to Zoro, but then I actually decide I'm going to swing with 8-cost Kid first, just because he's got a smaller attack power at the moment. We're going to swing 7,000 into their life. They will take that. Now we can swing big with our Zoro, 8,000 one time. And then we will swing 8,000 again, most likely. They will take that. I think at this point, it's just kind of GG's. There's going to be no way for them to get around our 8-drop Kid, our leader ability, and all the 2Ks we have in our hand. We have like half of our 2Ks in our entire deck in our hand, which is absolutely bonkers, ladies and gentlemen. 10 Don for them to work with. They do have a decent board, but against our board, that's not going to be enough. Bonney is such a great defensive leader. I love that 7-cost useless Captain Kid. It's spicy, it's fun. I really want y'all to give it a try and let me know how you like it. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm coping. They do have the 9-cost Luffy, which allows them to draw a card, and it will have Rush, but that doesn't really make a huge difference at this point. The game is just about over, and it seems they came to the same conclusion as well and conceded. GG's. Next up, we're going to have a game against Starter Deck 11 Uta. It's crazy to think that this was Starter Deck 11 and we are almost at Starter Deck 21 in the West. We are going to start off with a Baby 5 Searcher. That is amazing for us. We really like to play that down on turn 1, and then on turn 2, we'll be able to search for it. Using the new Genesis Event Searcher, they will find the OP07 7-cost Monkey D. Luffy. I am not really too scared about that. Uta finds a ton of cards. They're going to be able to get cards with their leader ability. They're going to be able to get cards with their searchers. No big deal. We are going to search with our Baby 5, and we draw another Baby 5 2k, and then we'll swing 6,000 with our leader, and they will just take that. They've already got a huge hand size. This is going to be a long game, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's going to be an absolute grind. They're going to start off by giving 1 Don to their leader and swing 6,000 at us. They do find the Monkey D. Luffy for Starter Deck 16. We'll take that hit, and we get the 5-cost Bonney, which could come in handy. They won't get rid of my 1-drop Baby 5, which I am very happy about. I love searching multiple times with it. We are going to find a 2-cost Rosinante blocker, which is great. That'll pair perfectly with our 8-cost Kid. They did play down the 3-cost Katakuri, which will be annoying, but it's not the end of the world. Now we're going to swing 6,000 with our leader. Will they take this? Will they give us a 2k? They do give us the 2k. And now we'll play out the Jewelry Bonney Searcher. We will find the Cavendish. We love to see the Cavendish. We'll probably play that out next turn, and then we'll pass it to them. 2 searchers on the board, 1 Don up to rest one of their characters or leaders. They're going to do a 6,000 swing with their leader. Are they going into a character? Yes, they are. They're going to go into Jewelry Bonney. We'll use leader ability to rest their Katakuri, and now they've got 5 Don left to work with, and we still have that Baby 5 on the board. They did draw the backlight off of their leader ability. We could see them use that to get rid of the Baby 5. I mean, I'm not sure if I would use backlight exactly, but I really do think against Bonney, you got to get rid of those searchers early or they're going to get me crazy value. For 3 Don, they're going to play down the Film Uta from Starter Deck 11 and pass it to me, leaving 2 Don up. I think we're in a great spot now. We'll start off with a search with our Baby 5. The only thing we can take is a 10 cost Luffy, and hey, we'll happily take that. That card is so strong. Then with 6 Don left, we are going to play down Cavendish, and then we're going to be able to swing 7,000 into their rested Katakuri. They are hopefully going to let this go. They will block, but that's fine too. If we can keep this Cavendish on the board, we are setting ourselves up very nicely for an 8 cost kid turn next turn. They have 8 Don to work with. We will likely see a 7 cost Luffy blocker here. I wouldn't be surprised if they give 1 Don to their leader. Swing using leader ability. They got the 9 cost Zoro, which luckily for us they cannot take. They're going to swing 6,000 into our baby 5 searcher, and of course we'll let it go. We'll rest their Katakuri with our leader ability, and then here comes the 7 cost Luffy blocker along with a 4 cost 6,000 power Roronoa Zoro. That's a little bit annoying, but I still think we're in a great position. We're going to be able to play out the Eustace Captain Kid here, swing with Cavendish to restand Don, and then also cheat out a 2 cost Rosinante blocker, setting ourselves up a very nice defensive wall. They are going to protect this Katakuri here with 1,000 counter. Now, we are not going to swing into it with our Jewelry Bonney just because we know they can just free block with their Monkey D. Luffy blocker. We're going to give 1 Don to our 8 cost kid, and then we're going to cheat out the 2 cost Rosinante. Rosinante is the perfect blocker to combine with Kid in this moment because they could have the 9 cost Film Shanks. The 9 cost Film Shanks could easily pop the Kid if it weren't for that Rosinante's effect. They will start off by giving their leader 4 Don and swing 9,000 into the Kid. This definitely caught me a little off guard. I'm not exactly sure what they're cooking and why they only swung for 9,000 because I can easily 2k out of this. But maybe they've got something for 6 Don that I'm just not expecting. I'm going to use leader ability to rest their Luffy blocker, and then I will just give them the Scratch Mana Poo 2k. Getting out of that feels very nice. It was very easy, and we've got plenty of options to keep our kid alive. Next, they're going to give Zoro 2 Don and swing 8,000 at the kid. Again, I can easily counter out of that. With all the cards in my hand, that is kind of like, there would be no chance I wouldn't be able to counter out with a 1k. I think we're in a little bit of a misplay territory, just the way this turn has gone. They're going to use Backlight to destroy my Cavendish. And while I can use Rosinante's effect to save the Cavendish, I really liked that idea on their part. I just wish they did it at the start of their turn, because then that would have gotten rid of my Rosinante blocker. Then they could have thrown a bunch of Don on their leader or their Luffy blocker and just swung big into the kid. I still probably would have been able to counter out of it, but I think that would have been the move, as opposed to waiting to the end, and I still got value out of my kid. I got value out of my Rosinante. We're going to play down the 10 cost Luffy, use Cavendish to restand some Don, and now we'll give a Don to our Eustace Captain Kid and swing into that Katakuri, getting that off the board. We don't have any small chump blockers to play, so there's a decent chance that my kid gets removed this turn. They are going to counter out, giving us 2 2Ks to keep that Katakuri alive. We'll then swing 5,000 into their life with our leader, and they will take that hit. 10 Don for them to work with. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 9 cost Zoro. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a 9 Shanks. They are going to play out a Film Luffy blocker, also cheating out the 3 cost Nami. The Nami draws them the Shanks, so we have to be ready for that next turn. 2 Don left to work with. They might throw it on their Katakuri and swing big into my Eustace Captain Kid, which they will do. We'll rest their Luffy blocker with our leader ability, and then we can easily 2k out of this. I decided to keep the Jewelry Bonney 1k just because that could come in handy at some point. With 10 Don to work with, I am going to drop the 9 cost Shanks and pop one of their rested Luffy blockers. I don't think I can go wrong either way. I'm also considering playing down the 8 cost kid just because I know my other 8 cost kid is probably going to get KO'd by their Shanks that they just drew. We're going to play down the Shanks though, pop their Luffy, swing 6,000 at their Katakuri with our Cavendish. I imagine they'll counter out of this. They really love this Katakuri. They do not want to see it go. They will counter out of it with a 3 cost Uta 1k counter. We'll swing 6,000 now with our leader. They'll give us the 2k, and I definitely don't know if countering out is the right move here just because we are eventually going to be able to clear it, and now their hand size has drastically dwindled down. And Uta typically likes a big hand size. That's definitely not a good feeling for them. They will play the 9 cost Shanks, pop our Eustace Captain Kid, and then swing 6,000 at us. We might just even take this. I don't really feel too pressured not to take it. We get another 9 cost Shanks, which we can use to pop their Shanks. I think I'll probably do that this turn. Play that down and get rid of their current Shanks. We will counter out of these next couple swings with their Nami and their Zoro. We're going to play down the 9 cost Shanks first, then swing with Cavendish. We'll swing 6,000 into their Nami, and they will let it go. Now we'll swing 10,000 into their Zoro. They let that go, and now I think we're basically in the clear. 7,000 at them with our leader they take, 11,000 with Shanks they'll take. They've got 1 life card left, and we are in a pretty good spot. Now, they could have a bunch of Ive Invincibles, which makes me a little bit nervous, but there's no way they're going to be able to survive the onslaught of attacks coming at them this next turn. So they'll start with a new Genesis Search and get a backlight. That's not going to really help them out too much right here. 9,000 at us with their leader, and I do think they are going to just go with the I'm Invincible play. They've got 6 down left up, now 3 after their first I'm Invincible. We can just take these because we are in no real threat. A 4th one, this is just kind of like one last push, but it had to be GG's because there's no way they could have got lethal. GG's. On to the next one. Our next matchup is going to be against Purple Luffy. Purple Luffy is an absolute menace this set, and I am a little bit nervous about this matchup. The good news is, though, is that we did get to steal first from them. Purple Luffy always loves to go first. We do find the Jewelry Bonney Searcher to play on turn 2, and we will play that out. Unfortunately, we only have options between Killer and another Jewelry Bonney Searcher, and I'm actually leaning towards the Jewelry Bonney Searcher again, just so I can do that same exact play. We're going to play that out. We're not going to be able to search with it this turn, but next turn we will once we played the Cavendish. They're going to use Leader ability to play out the 5-cost Eustace Captain Kid blocker, which is a little bit annoying, but it's not the end of the world. We'll do a search with our Jewelry Bonney, and we will take the 2k Scratch Mana Poo. That is very nicely timed. Then we're not going to swing 5,000 with our Bonney just because, or I guess we will. We're just going to check to see if they'll do the free block, and they do. Hopefully our Cavendish will survive this turn. I think it will, even if they have a 7-cost Sanji to rest it and swing into it. We do have the counter to protect it. For 7 Don, they're going to play out the Luffy Taro, -1 Don. What are they going to play out? Probably a Sangoro. I think Sangoro is usually the best bet, and they will play the Sangoro. Then they're actually going to use Leader ability to ramp again to leave 2 Don up. I wonder if this is for a Gum Gum Giant or... yeah, maybe just not wanting to go down too far and Don. We're going to freeze the Eustace Captain Kid blocker with Carrot, and then we're actually going to swing 7,000 into it. Maybe I should have swung into life, but my goal there was to get counter out of hand, and it worked exactly as planned. Now, a 7,000 swing into the Eustace Captain Kid again, and we will get another 2k. That's 2/2ks out of their hand to save a character that is frozen, and with our Carrot, we'll probably be frozen for maybe even the rest of the game. Passing it back to them, they have 10 Don to work with. They're going to start off with a 6,000 power swing with Sangoro into our Cavendish. This is an easy counter, and we're going to be able to rest their Luffy Taro. Them swinging with Sangoro makes sense so that they can draw a card, but it also means that I'm going to have an easier time countering out of this attack. If they swung with the Luffy Taro first, I would need to give them 3,000 worth of counter, but they wouldn't have been able to draw an extra card with Sangoro. For 9 Don, they're going to play down the Rush Luffy from OP09. This is a really strong card. I think I'm going to counter out of this attack anyway, just because I have so many 2Ks and I want to keep this Cavendish alive. Cavendish is an absolute beast, and I got to keep the man alive. 6,000 with Luffy, I will counter out of that one again too. I am a mad lad right now. We're going to swing 6,000 with Carrot, freeze the Sangoro. They'll give us a 1k to keep that kid alive. Now I'm debating on what order to do this. I'm going to play out the Zoro. This would be crazy if I can, I don't know, hopefully get some value out of it. Next turn, I'll likely be able to clear board with it. We're going to swing 6,000 into their life, just deciding to put some pressure on life and not going for the Eustace Captain Kid anymore. Maybe I should have swung it at the Eustace Captain Kid, but I just decided that it makes more sense to pressure their life a little bit. They countered out of the attack anyway, and we're going to play down the Capone Bedge for 1 Don, leaving 1 Don up for Leader ability. Unfortunately, this Cavendish is definitely going to die this turn, but we'll see if we can keep that Carrot alive too. At least we do have the Zoro on the board to help us fight back the next turn. 6,000 at our Carrot. I'm surprised they swung with Leader first. That's definitely got to be a little bit of a misplay. It's very easy to misplay like this against Bonney, just because you're not, I don't know, you're just busy, and it's hard to remember every single time that you want to swing with your strongest character first for the most part. 8,000 at the Cavendish, and we will counter out of that. I'm hoping they don't swing with the Eustace Captain Kid, but they do. Now for 9 Don, what are we going to see? Hopefully not another 9-drop Rush Luffy. That would be pretty rough. For 7 Don, they're going to go with another Luffy Taro play a Sangoro over their rested Sangoro, and I gotta say, the tide of this battle is definitely in their favor. I gave away an entire hand's worth of counter to save that Cavendish. Maybe that was a questionable play. It probably was, but now we do have this Zoro that will be able to put in a ton of work this turn. We're going to start off maybe with a 7,000 power swing into Leader, just to pressure them a little bit, maybe get a Gum Gum Giant out of their hand if they do have it. I definitely prefer they just counter here, and maybe I should have just swung that into the Eustace Captain Kid. Probably a misplay on my part. Now we're going to swing 13,000 with our Zoro. This might be a little bit, you know what? I'm actually not going to apologize for this strategy. I'm going to swing again with the Zoro, pressuring their life, putting them down to 1 life card. and then hopefully find something off the top deck. Trust that they're not going to find a blocker. And yeah, I can swing again with the Zoro. I might just set him as active to keep him alive and make it so he needs to absolutely have at least one blocker this next turn for them to win. I could put them to zero here probably, but I decide not to. Let me know in the comments down below if that's the right play or the wrong play. I didn't really have a ton of options that turn. Maybe clearing their board was best, but they still would then have 3 life, and yeah, it would be a lot for me to come back from. They're going to start off with a 6,000 swing from the Sanguro, getting that value from his drawing ability. We're going to rest the Eustace Captain Kid just because I'm not really in lethal range, and I want to rest that blocker to go for game next turn. Now 5,000 with their leader. We will counter out of this. Depending on what they have, they could have hypothetically won for lethal, maybe like with a Rush Zoro. So gonna want to counter out of that and then see what they do here. 8,000 at us with Luffy Taro. We're really looking for a Hody Jones. A Hody Jones would be absolutely crazy. I think Hody Jones is the best option. If they have any blockers up or any Don up, being able to rest Don to get rid of a Gum Gum Giant would be crazy. 8,000 at us with the Luffy Taro. We just have to take this. We do get the Hody Jones, which might be the exact card we need this turn. They're going to swing 8,000 with their other Luffy Taro, 10,000 with their other Luffy, and here they will play the Nami blocker, leaving 4 Don up. Do they have another blocker? They do not. Hopefully they do not have Gum Gum Giants on deck. I have a feeling that maybe they left all that Don up just to ensure that I wouldn't be able to rest all of it for the Gum Gum Giant, so this is a huge heads up play on their part. I'm debating what makes more sense, swinging really big with Zoro 3 times or playing down the Hody Jones and not swinging huge with Zoro. We're going to go with the Hody Jones play. Let me know what you think of it in the comments down below, and then we're going to do a 8,000 swing with Hody. Are they going to have the Gum Gum Giant or 2Ks? They do have the Gum Gum Giant. They're going to be able to get up to 9k, get out of this attack. And now we're just going to do 3 9Ks with Zoro. Cross our fingers. The first one hits. Please, please, please do not get my hopes up. Now a 9,000 swing with Zoro. 2k, 2k, and a 1k. Do they have it, ladies and gentlemen? It's the moment of truth. 9,000 with Zoro. 2k, 1k, 2k. Oh my god, that feels bad. That extra 1k in there made me think that maybe they didn't have it and they were just gonna do what they had, but no, they had that last sneaky 2k off the Gum Gum Giant. It had to be. Those were great draws for him. Very good game. I probably messed up by saving that Cavendish so many times with counter. But alas, we learn from our games, we learn from our mistakes. GG's, on to the next one. Now we've got a game against a purple-yellow Nico Robin from OP09, one of the funnest leaders in the new set, if I say so myself. Maybe not the best, but definitely catches people off guard, and that ability to have Banish is just so strong. Banish and Ramp, together they're just a crazy combination. They choose the order. We are going second. I mulligan this first hand, which might be questionable. I didn't have any early game plays, which I didn't like, but I also did have 2 2Ks, which would be appreciated. This next hand isn't too bad. The fact that we draw into the Jewelry Bonney is great for us. We're going to be able to search for another 2K, a Searcher, a Blocker, a Cavendish. We're going to start with a 5,000 power swing from our leader. They will take that hit, no trigger, lucky for us, and then we'll play the Jewelry Bonney Searcher, and I think the Eustace Captain Kid is the move here. We also could have taken the 5-cost Bonney, which does have 1k of counter, which is nice, and we could play it early, but I think the Eustace Captain Kid will be really good in this matchup, especially later on as just a big wall that'll be difficult for them to get around. 4 Don for them to work with. They'll start with 1 Don on leader and swing 6,000 into our Jewelry Bonney. Of course we'll give them that. There's no way we are going to be countering out of that. They're going to use leader ability and trash a Charlotte Brûlée to ramp a Don as rested. This is going to be rough to deal with a deck that ramps and is able to play out big bodies before we're able to get out our big bodies. Now with 3 Don left over, what do they got for us? Do they have anything? They've got the 3-cost Jaguar D-Saw, just a solid blocker that'll be a little bit annoying. We're going to swing 5,000 with our leader, and I think just playing down Carrot is the move. We won't be able to get any value from Carrot, which really stinks, but it's my only really 5 Don play besides just throwing a bunch of Don on my leader and swing big. I think establishing the Carrot for next turn is probably the right play, even though we won't be able to use our leader ability this turn. Passing it back to them for 5 Don, we'll get hit with the dreaded 5-cost Egghead Nami to pop our Carrot. That really feels bad. Now they'll be able to swing 7,000 with leader, and I'm thinking maybe I just take this. I'd have to give out 2 cards from hand, and that just feels bad, man. So I'm just going to take this. Hopefully we do not get a good card banished, and bruh, that really stinks. That would be a great card to have later on in the game, especially. It is what it is, though. We have to continue. We have to learn to live under these circumstances. This will likely be a 6,000 power swing from our leader and then play down a Cavendish. I don't really think I can play anything else with the Cavendish. I probably should have swung for 7,000. I would have enough for that, so maybe not the best part on my part. Maybe I'm just a little bit tilted after losing that Doflamingo. We're going to leave 3 Dawn up, and that feels bad. I definitely could have swung for more, but at least we have the Cavendish out now. We can combo this great with the 8-cost Eustace Captain Kid next turn if it can stay alive, because there's a chance they have another 5-cost Egghead Nami. That would feel so bad. 7,000 at us with their leader. We will absolutely rest that Egghead Nami, and then we'll take that hit. Another big body being banished, our 9-cost Shanks. Man, does that feel bad. I didn't want to give them the cards out of hand, though. They've got the 7-cost Sanji that they can play and rest my Cavendish, swing 7,000 out of it. That is a very easy 2k to get out of, though. I am definitely keeping this Cavendish alive. I don't think it would have been crazy for them to swing into my life there with the Sanji, just to continue with the pressure, and it would require more cards out of my hand. That 7,000 into a 6,000 Cavendish is an easy counter when I have a decent amount of cards in hand. Now it's time for our Eustace Captain Kid 8-cost. Unfortunately, I don't have any blockers to go with it, so it is a little bit vulnerable, but I think we're still going to be in a good spot. Starting out with a 5,000 swing into the Nami. Hopefully they let this go, but if they give me counter out of hand, that's fine too. They let it go. Now we're going to do 7,000 into Sanji. Again, I really hope we can get this off the board. They do have the 2k, though, that they will use to save it. We'll give 1 Dawn to our 8-cost Kid, and unfortunately with no blocker, it is a little bit vulnerable. I do even second guess this decision a little bit, but I think I have to. I don't have a ton of counter in hand, but even if it's just for a turn, I think it'll be useful. They've got 10 Dawn to work with, and they're just going to do the good old 5 Dawn on Sanji, swing 12,000 at us, and unfortunately we do not have the counter to save us. We're 1 Dawn short. We're going to use leader ability to rest their leader, and then yeah, we just got to let it go. Unfortunately, RIP Kid. It was a great 1 turn while you lasted. 5 Dawn left to work with. They might just throw it on Jaguar D Sol, or maybe they've got another card to play. It would have been really bad if they had the Egghead Nami to play. Popping my Cavendish 2 and clearing my board would have felt so bad. 7,000 at us with Jaguar D Sol. We'll take that, and then they do play out another Jaguar D Sol blocker. That is pretty annoying for us to deal with, I'll be honest. Now I'm in a situation I could go, I have a lot of different options. I could go 9-cost Shanks, get that Sanji off the board. That would be nice. I could go 5-cost Carrot and 5-cost Bonney. The 5-cost Bonney freezing a Dawn of theirs could be really helpful if they're trying to play an ace. That would be really good. We could also go 7-cost Eustace Captain Kid blocker. Keeping a blocker on the field to keep our Cavendish alive would be helpful. We're going to do the Carrot first to freeze their Sanji. Now I am trying to do the math a little bit and see what I can get away with. If I can get away with putting Dawn on my leader and swing into this Jaguar D Sol, we'll swing 6,000 at it. If they want to give us counter, they can certainly do that. Now 6,000 at their leader with Cavendish. I'm thinking maybe we play out the Bonney and freeze one of their Dawn. We're going to do that. We leave 1 Dawn up for leader ability, and I think we're in a really good spot. A 9-cost Yamato would really hurt here. Being able to pop any of our characters would be so annoying and pretty devastating if it's the Cavendish. The Cavendish is the most important one, but Carrot will be really helpful too. Hopefully we will be able to stun that Sanji for the rest of the game. They're just going to throw a bunch of Dawn on their leader, swing 11,000. This is going at the Cavendish. We've got to let the Cavendish go, but it got amazing value. They'll have 3 Dawn left up. And we'll just rest their Jaguar D Sol. I'm not sure if they're going to play anything else for the rest of this turn. But yeah, I think we're in a great spot. Unfortunately, we do not have enough counter. I tried to make the math work in the last. It did not work. And they've got another blocker Jaguar D Sol. A little bit annoying, but not really that important to us right now. We're going to start off with a 6,000 swing from Carrot into the rested Sol and then freeze the Sanji. Technically, probably should have swung with the leader first, but it's no big deal. Then we're going to swing 6,000 with our Jewelry Bonney character. We're actually going to swing 6,000 with Bonney first, or Bonney character first, because if they had an Egghead Nami trigger, they'd be able to pop the Bonney character without us getting any value from it this turn. They're going to take that hit. They're at 2 life right now, and I'm debating on if I should leave them at 2 life. Yamato and 10-cost Ace get maximum value if they are at 1 life or less, and so that's why I'm a little bit hesitant to let them get that value if they do have those cards in their hand. I'm debating on what to play here. We're going to start off with a Baby 5. We do search up the 10-cost Dofi, which is huge. Not a card I'm going to play this turn, but potentially next turn I will. We're going to play out the 7 cost Eustace Captain Kid blocker just as a little bit of assurance, just in case they've got another rush, just in case they got some spice, you know, just setting up a strong blocker that can also be a viable attacker next turn is just so good. 10 done for them to work with. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the 10 cost ace here. That might be their best play. But they're really not in a great spot. They don't have a ton of cards in hand. Their 7 cost Sanji is frozen. They're going to give 7 Don to their leader and swing big into the carrot. I think we should just let the carrot go. It definitely got its value. So yeah, RIP carrot, using leader ability to freeze or rest the Jaguar D Sol. And with 3 Don left up, are they going to have another Jaguar D Sol? No, but they do have another Brûlée blocker. And yeah, I think I overturned this play right here. I think I should really just go straight for the Hody Jones play. I think I'm overthinking it a little bit. I have a couple decent bodies to swing with, but I am kind of considering if that is my best play. Maybe the 10 cost Dofi play would be better. I think it's undoubtedly the safer play, and yeah, if I want to go to the safer route, I could do that. We're going to start off with a 5,000 swing from leader. They will counter out of that. Now we're going to do a 6,000 swing from our Jewelry Bonney character and swing it into life. Do they have the 2K? If they have the 2K here, then I think I'm definitely going to be more conservative for the rest of the turn, but they do not. They let that hit go through, and now I say to myself, let's just rush it with the Hody Jones, rest their blocker, and now we're going to have 3 big swings. First, a 9,000 swing with Hody, which they won't be able to get out of, and then the 9,000 swing from our Eustace Captain Kid blocker. If for some reason we do not think this attack goes through, we might just give 1 Don to him and swing for 8,000 so he gets to restand at the end of the turn. There is no trigger, and so we can just give 1 Don to our Eustace Captain Kid. I could have went for 9, but that is a little bit greedy. I think it would not hurt to be a little bit more defensive in that situation, and so I left a Don up as kind of an emergency Don. Yeah, GG's. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the games I got for you today. What did you think about them? I obviously am a huge Bonney fan. I love playing this leader, and I plan on continue making videos for her in OP07 as well. Let me know what you think about this deck list. I would love to hear your feedback. I'm always open to suggestions and tips, and yeah, let me hear them. Consider hitting that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the channel and want to help the channel grow. Consider liking and commenting if you want to win that custom Bonney leader. That looks pretty cool if you ask me. But that's all I got for you today. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and this has been Johnny TCG. Peace. And don't forget to subscribe.